the live stream today. It's Wednesday, and we are in the now. I shouldn't even say the fall season. It's after Thanksgiving, so it's the winter season,
That's
right?
for sure.
It's winter.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a case study. A lot of you guys may know Harry. If you don't, this is Harry Owens, and Harry runs the National RE funding side of the whole business, which was started to fund deals for people from Mastery, and then it was expanded out to everybody. So if you're looking for funding on a property, so today's case study pertains to kind of funding. What do you do with property? And this particular property we're going to talk about, which John from Mastery found this particular property. And we're going to kind of talk about all the way from the beginning all the way to the end, meaning how do you get funding for this particular deal? What do you do? What happens? So let me show you guys the property that we're talking about so that everybody has an idea of what I'm referring to, so it makes it easier to understand. So share screen. Okay, so now hopefully everybody should be able to see my screen. Can you tell Joseph if you can see my screen or no?
Yeah, let me check in on the broadcast.
Are you logged in or no?
You're live.
I'm sorry?
Yep, it's good.
It's good? Okay, so you can see the house on there?
Yep, I can see your screen.
Okay, great. So this is the property. This is a property in Chicago, and this is kind of the inside of the property. This is exactly how it looks as we speak. So Harry, what type of a property is this as we kind of show the screen?
Well, this is a probate situation.
Okay, a probate situation where the daughter is still living in the property, right? So that's why you see furniture, you see stuff that is still there in this particular property, and it's a probate property. So this is somebody that is fairly new to Mastery, and we'll kind of jump into it here in a second. And what you have to think about is, how does this example relate to me? What would I do if I found a property like this? So we're going to kind of go through that with Harry. So Harry, based on what you look at, right, here in terms of the pictures and what this property is, if you were going to do a flip, does this property really need much work, any work? What do you think?
Well, I think let's just break this down the way we would break it down in Mastery.
Okay.
All right. So if we're going to do a flip, we all know that we're going to start at the ARV, work our way backwards.
Okay.
So right now, I mean, last year, right around this time, the house probably would have went for what, about 400 grand.
Right.
Right now, you can conservatively get about maybe 360.
360. Okay. So basically, you did your first flip last year.
Yes.
Right. So earlier this year, like around March, April, or May, sometime, you sold your first flip, right? Yeah. And you a home run deal.
Home run.
You made how much?
80,000.
80,000. So you did your first flip within Mastery. You made $80,000. Right. It was around the same time of the year you bought the property.
Exactly. I bought it maybe the first week of December. So
first week of December, right?
At the same time. Yeah.
But last year, where were the interest rates?
At that time,
3 point,
3 point,
yeah, something,
6 or 3.7, yeah,
right. Yet today they're close to 6.5, 7. Yeah. You know, even on a purchase for a home for you to live in. So even though it's not like anything has happened, except the interest rates have more than doubled, right? So now we have to adjust for pricing. So let's kind of go back. Okay. Right, let's roll it back, because before we get into the property, right, let's come up with the value that you think completely fixed up. Today, what is your value for the property?
But this is probably about 360.
About 360, conservatively.
Conservative,
right? Probably will sell for more, but we're saying 360 conservative, right? Given for the pocket of town, and this happens to be this is a property which is in one of the neighborhoods of Chicago. Pretty good, decent, solid neighborhood of Chicago. Split. I mean, it's a raised ranch, so you have another level downstairs. So on this property, and a lot of times what people do is they'll first run to the property, right? They're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, it depends who you are, meaning what is your situation. So this person, right, John from Mastery, is very similar kind of your situation, right?
John's like me.
Yeah.
Guy has a okay job, make okay money at his job. His credit is okay, things like that. So, so he makes okay money, but at the same time, he's looking to build wealth. He's looking to get that financial freedom.
Right. So he's kind of in his 35 to 38, that age group.
Yeah.
And what his the whole thing is like, you're in your 40s, right?
On
the
head, 40.
Okay, on the head. Okay.
Just
So now for you, like, because he's very similar to your profile. That's
Yeah.
why I was like, hey man, today you should participate in the case study
Mhm.
because you guys kind of relate to the whole thing.
Right.
Now, last year, you did a flip,
Right.
right? Why did you do the flip in your particular situation?
In my situation, a couple things. I needed the capital
Okay.
in order to do my ultimate goal, which is to build a rental portfolio. I didn't have a lot of cash, so I figured doing a flip, and I was expecting to make about 30 or 40K. That can get me started as far as building on my rentals.
Okay, got it. So in your situation now, today the market is a little bit different, right? The market is, can you flip a property? Yes, all day long, right? I mean, Zach from Mastery just did a flip 3 days ago. He closed it. At the time of closing, he made $120,000, right? So congratulations to Zach and Ellie, right? I mean, you think you hit a home run. This guy hit it out of the ballpark, right? But the situation is this, that for this particular person, for John from Mastery, deal is he has a good job, right? It's not great, but it's pretty good. He's happy with his job, right? He has decent credit. It's not like he doesn't have a lot of cash, but he has some savings. So the question when he came, and this is something everybody has to think about. If you say, hey, Andrew, I'm here and I want to go here. And let's define here, meaning I'm okay. I can live on what I make. I don't have a lot left over, but I'm okay. But I want to end up where in about 3 years, I want to have, in his case, his number is $9,000 net income every single month, net. So 9,000 net every month. What does that mean for the year, right? It's going to end up about, in terms of cash flow, you're going to be above, about 100,000 some, 100,000 and some change in cash flow income, right? Net,
Yeah.
right? That after expenses.
Right.
He's like, dude, Andrew, if I can get there, I'm happy. So I'm like, well, then you're going to focus on that. You're not going to necessarily focus on doing a lot of flips because there's nothing wrong with it, but that again becomes a job and it becomes earned income. It's not necessarily going to get you closer to your goal. Now, somebody else looking at it like last year, and in your situation, you had lost your job, right? Before you started doing the lending for everybody in Mastery and all that stuff, you had lost your job.
Yes.
So he needed to replace his income, right? So that's kind of the reason why and I'm talking about this rather than just talking about the property first, because we have to be clear on what do we want to get to. Like if you're going to go to New York, you can't get on a flight going to LA. But what happens a lot of times in real estate is people get on the LA flight, they just don't realize that it's going to LA. They just think activity means I'm going to get to New York. No. You got to get on the right flight because that's the most direct flight. Now, some people say, well, I'm going to go to LA first and then catch a flight back to New York. Well, it's going to cost you 2.5 times the airfare. But if that's what you want to do, go right ahead. Nobody's stopping you. But in real estate, we have a systematic approach to getting there. So why don't we write that down? So if $9,000 a month in income, right? Actually, you stand here. I'm going to come here.
Okay.
Right? What does that, how many properties would he have to have?
I would say maybe 15, 18.
About, about twice that. So $500 per, property.
Yeah.
So he basically needs about 17, 18 properties,
Yeah.
right? And it'll get him to that particular number. So if the number is 18 properties, right? What is that, man?
That's per month.
Oh, per month. Okay. I was like, what kind of
Per month.
Okay, per month.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's put 18 over there, right? And so what his goal should be is, hey, how quickly can I get to my 18 properties, right? That should be his number one goal.
Right.
So if we think about it from that kind of perspective, right, what we have to think about is how does he get there? So does this property, now on this particular property, right, if he does a flip on the property, right, if he does a flip, we're suggesting to him, don't do a flip.
Right.
What's the reason? Explain that.
Well, if he does a flip, then you have to continue to do flips. And with his goal of trying to get that cash flow of 9,000 net, you want to keep as many good properties as you can. That's going
Right.
to cash flow.
So if he does a flip, he'll make, right?
Yeah.
He'll make,
He can make money.
he can make good money,
Yeah.
right? He can make the kind of money that Harry made.
Yeah.
The problem with John is John's like, man, yes, it'd be great, but then I'm going to pay more taxes and it's not necessarily going to get me closer to my goal, right? His goal is he wants to go into real estate full-time down the road, not today, down the road and his goal is within 2.5 to 3 years. I don't want to have a job. I should want to do a job, and it may be something related to real estate. So that's the reason we're suggesting that this would be a great property for a flip. So then let's look at back end value, which is 360, right? Now, before we get into this, right, I want to also talk about, you could do a flip, you could do a wholesale on this, or you could do a rental or Airbnb.
Right.
Why not Airbnb? Because this particular area, Airbnb wise, technically will work.
Technically, it would work, but I don't think it'll be the best strategy.
Okay, so the reason we're saying it wouldn't be the best strategy because this particular property is in Chicago, right? Meaning within the Chicago city limits. So if he's going to do an Airbnb, he's going to have to put that particular property in his personal name, right? And this is important for you guys to pay attention to. So what my point to him was, I'm like, man, you can only have a couple of properties before they're going to start denying all your Airbnbs, because that's the rule in Chicago, that it has to be, all the utilities have to be in your personal name. So I'm like, instead of doing a single family property as a Airbnb, why don't you do a 3 or 4 unit as a Airbnb? So that's kind of what it is. That why we suggested that don't do an Airbnb on this one. He could do an Airbnb on a 3 or 4 unit building where he could literally every single month make $10,000-$11,000. And that should be one of his goals, is how do I do this on a multi-unit property? So just something to think about. Okay, so 360 is the back-end value based on a number today, right? Based on a 70% calculation, what would he pay for the property?
70%.
So 70% of 360 is going to be 252.
252,
right?
252.
And then what are we saying rehab-wise?
You look at if you guys saw the pictures, it doesn't need much. I would say if it's a flip, $25K max.
If it's a rental, it can be rented out as is, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, a coat of paint and it could be rented out.
For sure.
But we're going to use 25,000 as a number, right? Just for today's exercise, because if you want it to be perfect, he would have to put about 25,000. So if you want to just put minus 25, so that would put you at 227.
And that's the max.
That's the max he could pay.
Yeah.
So based on our flip formula, right? Based on which is 70%. So if you want to put like maybe times 0.7. Yeah, there we go. Okay, based on a 360 times 0.7, you need 252 minus 25. He should be paying no more. Absolutely no more than 227, right? That's what he should be paying max if he wants to do a flip, if he chooses to do a flip and he wants to make good money. Now, I want to take it to the next level, and this is why I wanted to explain this, and it's important to understand that in this particular case, when initially I heard about the property, what I had asked him was, I'm like, hey, what do you want to do? He's like, Andrew, man, I'm not sure, but I think I want to do a wholesale, right? At the time, I didn't have a whole bunch of chance to talk to him. So I'm like, well, if you're going to do a wholesale, you're going to have to be a little bit more conservative than your flip number, right? So let me borrow that pen. I'll put down. So this is for a flip, but if he wants to wholesale the property, he's going to have to be a little bit more conservative. So that would be 360, because the back end value remains the same, times 0.65, right? So why the difference between 0.7, why are we using 0.65?
Because you want to have, if you're wholesaling, you got to put the cushion in there for your wholesale fee.
Right. So you want to basically, if you want to make a 10, 15, in this case, he could make a huge fee. Now, here's the fun part about this property. The fun part about this property is this, that when he told me about the property, he said, man, Andrew, it needs a lot of work, right? And I'm like, okay, well, if it needs a lot of work, then you need to at least, so I'm like, well, does it need a lot of work? Like, is it 30, 40, 50 in work? He said, no, not that much, a lot less. So I'm like, well, then maybe assume 25 now, because I assumed 25. I had not seen the inside pictures, right? So this is a positive one. In this, after looking at the inside pictures, I'm like, what the heck kind of work are you gonna do, right? There's nothing to do. He's like, well, what about finishing the basement? I'm like, you don't need to finish the basement, not in this property, right? You don't need to do anything to sell it for 360. You can actually probably do 10 in work, 12 in work, and get away with it, right? And sell the property if you want to. But he had assumed a higher number, right? So 360 times 0.65 is going to be 234, right? That's 234. And then if we take out 25,000 out of it, what that means is, as a wholesale deal, he would need to buy the property for 209,000, right? If he bought this particular property at 209 all day long, he could sell this to another investor for 227. In fact, 230, 235, 240, 250. There are people in Mass Street that'll buy this property as is condition, 250 all day long. I mean, all day long they'll buy the property. Why? Because $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 they could do that work, rent it out, and just have a ball, right? All the way. So it's a phenomenal property. Now, here's the fun part about this whole thing, and that is that even though the number he should have paid no more than 209 if he wanted to do a wholesale. You know what he's paying for the property? $207,000, right? $207,000 that literally you can fix up the property and do very minimal work to it, very minimal, right? Really no more. How much would you put in? Right now, you're on your property number what?
Number 4, about to be 5.
About to be 5, right? You're closing on one next week, right?
Week, yeah.
Okay. So so these are the rentals,
yes,
right? Okay. So how much could you do this work for?
For a rental?
Yeah.
And
5, 6, 8 grand?
Yeah, about 6 to 8. I would say
6 to 8 grand. Yeah, 6 to 8 grand. You could get the work done.
Yeah.
And I want to show you guys kind of the calculator really quick here as to what would end up happening on this particular property if this was a rental. So with today's rental rates, right? Oh, sorry. I think we could get what? Easy $2,200 or so for this property. Easily, right?
For sure.
So I want to kind of pull up the thing and then share my screen really quick with everybody so that everybody can see this. So entire screen share. Hey, Joseph. Can you see my screen?
Now I can.
What do you see?
I see the
Okay, what projection, man? The calculator.
calculator.
Okay, all right. Okay, so guys, let's look at the numbers, right? So his numbers on the Mastery calculators would be 207 is what he is buying the property for. You're saying about $8,000, right?
8,000 for sure.
About $8,000. Now, in this particular case, let's say you have a little bit of money, right? John doesn't have quite as much as you have. He has a little bit of money saved up, right? So in this situation, would you go to a commercial loan to you, or would you do a private money loan on this situation?
If it was me,
Right.
I would go with the commercial loan.
With the commercial loan.
Yeah.
Why? Explain that.
Well, when it's a larger balance there, purchase price over $200,000, then I would typically want to go.
You do a commercial loan on this
The
one.
rates are a little bit cheaper as well.
So
to do
on
it.
this one,
Yeah.
with 10% down,
Mhm.
right? With 10% down, you'd get 100% of the rehab costs, right? In this case, 10% down would be about, $27,000,
Yeah.
right? You'd have to come out with $27,000. I know in John's case, he can come out with that,
Yeah.
right? If he needs to, he can come out with that.
Mhm.
Would you do the same thing in this case?
Yes, I would.
Okay, you would.
Yeah.
But this is a property that if you have a private money lender,
Mhm.
right, you could use your own cash, you could use money from a private money lender, you could go to someone like Harry to do the loan with 10% down, right? You could do a loan with Harry. And what would the rates look like today? 2 points,
2 points.
right?
And maybe 10.99.
10.99. So
Yeah.
10 and a half
10
to
and a half,
about
yeah.
11. So basically, approximately, say 0.9% a month
Yes.
is what you're paying, but you'd be paying for 3 months,
Right.
right? That's it. So people are like, oh my God, why would I pay that? Guys, listen, I mean, think about the cost of it, right? At 0.9, even if we make it, let's just say a full percent, in this case, for 3 months, you'd be paying $2,000 a month, right?
You wanna
But
go the other way too, with if it was private with Mastery.
yeah, so if we were doing it from, if you're from Mastery, you're watching this, you'd pay 2 points and you would pay 1% a month, which would be about the same thing because the rates are fairly close.
Yeah.
It'd be 1% a month, which would be, if you're borrowing, say, $215, you'd be paying $2,150 per month, right? So that you'd pay for 2-3 months and then you would refinance the property, right? So in this case, given that situation, let's just say your carrying cost and all that about $7,000-8,000. I'm going to build that in there, and your property. I mean, all day long it'll appraise 360, if
Easy,
not more.
for sure.
Easy, right? And even at a 7.7% interest rate, a commercial loan, right? I'm talking about after you buy it, you touch it up, you put a tenant in there, and you're going to refinance the property. Even at that point, let's look at the numbers. 2,300 all day long?
2,300.
22, 2,300?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's make it just 22. Just make it a little less. Okay. 2,200. The taxes on this property are $2,400. Insurance on this is $800 every single month. And and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at this situation because this is going to be, and this is at 70. Okay. So he's basically, he would have about 38% equity in the property, number one, right? 38%, 40% equity in this particular property. Now, the second thing is he's going to have a mortgage of $223,000, right? In this particular situation, he's going to have a 223 in terms of mortgage. And he's going to have a cash flow with having zero money in the deal of 343. Now, by our standards, now in this case, you have over 100,000 in equity.
Right.
Is that good?
That's great.
That's great, right? That's phenomenal, right? Because this number we're looking for, a 25% number, and it's a huge number in this case. And what about the net cash flow, though?
I mean, that's temporary, right? So right now, the interest rates are kind of up right now.
Yeah.
But, we expect the market to correct itself
Right.
and the rates to go back down a bit. You can always refinance it. But even at 340, it's a little bit under the Mastery standard, but
yeah,
still
we
good.
want minimum of 350, ideally 400, right? But here's the deal. What he's going to end up doing is this. He's going to do a 25-year rate, which he's getting at 6.8, right? And his 6.8. Sorry. 0.5. So he's doing a 5-year balloon with a 6.5 rate at a 25-year amortization, right? Because what I wanted to see was this number higher than 400 for him. Now, he could have done this. Guys, think about this. You're buying one property. You have over 100,000 in equity in it. Now, some of you may be wondering, you're like, Andrew, man, the net cash flow is a little bit on the low side. I couldn't agree with you more, right? I agree with you 100% that it's a little bit, but think about it. You got 130,000 in equity, for God's sake, right, in the property. And so if some of you may say, well, I would just wholesale the property. He would make, sorry, not wholesale. I would just flip the property, right? Because he would technically make about $110,000 in this particular deal, right? And that's what it is. My point is that I bet you he gets about 2,300, if not 2,350 in rent. His cash flow is going to be fine. But this type of a property in that particular area for this type of a price is going to be impossible for him to replace, right? In this good a condition. So my suggestion to him is, man, if any way you can keep it, unless you need the money. Now, if you need the money, God bless, you can go ahead and sell it. Because this is a little, and I wanted to bring up this case study because this is a little bit of a conundrum, right? That you have a phenomenal property on your hands. You can make 120, 130,000 bucks, boom, on profit if you do a flip on the property. But yet I'm saying something very anti, which most people will be like, well, Andrew, what are you talking about, man? If I make 100 grand, I'm done.
They're going for
right?
it. Yeah.
They're going for it, right? But what would you do in this case? I mean, because this is a tough one, right?
It is tough. But with my goal being similar to John's, pretty much the same as John's, trying to build up that net cash flow per month, I would keep it.
You would keep the property, right? Because and this is what the challenge is. What you have to think about, guys, is that so there's a property on. I want to show you guys before we wrap up. A couple of properties because the appraisals just came back today. So this was. So 409, 15. Okay. So here's a property. I want to bring up the thing. And this is what I want us to think about. What would you do? Because the appraisal just came back today. And this is a perfect thing to think about. So hopefully you can see my screen. Right? So this is the property, right? And let me see if I can find it on Airbnb. Because I want to show you guys what this particular property looks like inside now. Because this property I bought, you want to do the numbers really quick. That way people kind of get a, there you go. While I'm trying to find this. So let me stop sharing this. I'll share it once I pull it up. Okay, so I bought this property for 200,000.
Right.
Right. So if you want to put 200, and then rehab wise, I put 35,000 into it, 36,000 into rehab. Right. And then in terms of furnishing it out as a Airbnb, I probably have another 15,000 into it. And then I have some carrying cost into the property because now I had paid cash for this personally. I can today. Obviously, this is not where I started, right? If you would have to do it, could you pay cash, or would you have to go? You'd have to get it on, right? Sure. But I mean, we were laughing about this in the car today because Harry's like, man, I can't even believe that I've already done one flip and I already have 4 or 5 properties that I own as rental in less than a year, right? It's a long way. So we all have to start somewhere, guys, right? So just keep that in mind. So in this case, let's put a cost if we had a loan on it, right? So let's put another 15,000 in cost. Okay, so I have the property pulled up. So I want to show you guys what this property looks like inside today. And now, mind you, this is for an Airbnb. So I haven't really been to the property when this was all staged out. This was basically done for me. I mean, I had it done, I should say. So I didn't pick anything. So if you like it, great. You don't like it, doesn't really matter. It is what it is, right? So this is kind of what the inside of the property looks like, right? Today, and it seems to be going gangbusters.
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, it looks nice.
You like the tiger pattern or what, man?
I like all of it. I mean, for Airbnbs, that works.
Okay, all right. So my point, what I'm trying to show you guys is this, right? I could sell this property as a flip, of course, because here's the interesting part about this is the I was just talking. I was just asking you, and I was asking Lori. I'm like, do you guys realize what this property appraised out at? I bought it for 200, 36 in rehab, 15 in furnishings, 15 in carrying cost, right?
266.
So that's 266. Now this includes furniture, right? So if I didn't furnish it, it would be 15,000 cheaper, but then I would pay that and a little bit more for selling the property, right? So my all-in cost in this property would be about 276 or so, say. And if I sell the property, the property just appraised out at $443,000. Now, just because the property appraised out at 443, do you really think change the pen color? Oh,
Who's not showing up? It's not sure where. So change it
Back to
white.
green or white?
Green.
okay, try that.
'Cause
You got to do something with these lights, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the angle of when we put in the boards.
Yeah, so I don't want to use the board anymore. I want to use that whiteboard
Yeah.
because I want people to be able to see this.
Well, you can if the angle of that was changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So which way do I have to
Just
change
move-
it?
I would rotate it this way.
This way?
Yep.
Okay, so just rotate it a little bit this way. How about down?
That's better.
Huh?
That's way better.
Okay, all right, cool. So at 443 is what they gave me the ARV on an appraisal for a refi, right? I don't think I'll get 443 today. In today's market, I'm talking about, right? Last year was very different.
If you were selling, you wouldn't get it.
I would not get that,
Right.
right? So I would get about, I think, a good 380, 390, right? Let's just say even if I get 380 for the property in today's market, I know I can get 380 all day long, right? 380, what would happen is if I take out 380 minus selling expenses and everything, about 280, let's just say everything included, I make 100 grand. The problem with this is this, and this is, guys, this is a good problem to have. Eventually, hopefully everybody gets there. Now I made 100 grand extra. Now, at one point, I would have been jumping up and down, right? Gone out to a nice restaurant. Oh my God, I just made 100 grand, right? Today, am I sad if I make an extra 100 grand? No, I'm not, of course.
I'm still
But-
jumping for 100 grand. I get a check for 100 grand, I'm jumping.
But I mean, fortunately today, I don't necessarily want the 100 grand. I would rather, because as soon as I make that, I'm going to have to pay additional tax on
Oh,
it,
yeah.
right? So it's not worth it because in my hand, I'm going to get barely $65,000, right? So it doesn't make any sense for me to go sell the property. In fact, instead of that, I'm going to go refi the property and just keep it and let it ride on Airbnb because I make a very, very, very healthy return. The reason I'm bringing this up is it's not always quite that simple. And what my needs are today, right? I was the same guy that in Streamwood, Hanover Park, Hoffman Estates, all those areas, Glendale Heights, I literally, since 2008 till 2011, I did over 100 some transactions. I did not keep a single house. And I was happy. If I made $25,000, I was jumping for joy and I thought I was a bloody genius, right? Guys, there is a time in our life where one thing may make sense. There's a time in our lives where something else may make sense. It depends where you are. And I say that to say this, that if I had knowing what I know today, right? Knowing what I know today, I would have never done more than 3 or 4 flips a year. Doing 3 or 4 good flips a year, you can make a couple $100,000, right? I was doing 30, 40 flips, killing myself and barely making any money. It's not about doing this much work. It's about doing less to make better quality returns. And then I would have built up a portfolio. I can guarantee you, I would have been much farther ahead than I'm not now today if I had known, of course, what I know today at that time. I didn't. But I just wanted to bring this whole thing up. How do they contact you, Harry, if anybody is interested in getting funding from Chicago Funding?
Sure. So if you're interested in getting funding with National RE Funding, it will be www.nationalrefunding.com. You just click on Get Funded, fill out a little questionnaire. They'll ask you for your information, and I'll give you, or someone will give you a call within 24 to 48 hours. Or the number directly will be 630-519-1330.
Okay. 630-519-1330.
Correct.
Okay. or nationalrefunding.com, right? So hopefully this made sense. Whenever we do these case studies, the reason we do them is not because necessarily one is right, one is wrong. Always remember that it depends on what do you want to do. The first property, it works. I mean, it works phenomenal as a flip, works phenomenal as a wholesale. Can't do quite Airbnb, or it's not the wisest thing to do an Airbnb and lose your slot. You should do that with a 3 or 4 unit building in Chicago, because that's a better productive option, because they won't let you do that in an LLC. So you can only do maybe a couple under your name until they're not going to give you any more, any more Airbnb permits. So that's something to think about, right? In this particular property, right? On a cash flow situation, like a regular rental, cash flow is not going to be the greatest. Your equity is going to be still phenomenal, right? Because you win because you buy it right. Guys, it has nothing to do with the market. We can't control the market. But what we can control is what do we do with the given situations and how much do we pay for the property. Having said that, Harry, thank you very much, buddy. I hope you guys enjoyed the case study today. Thanks a bunch. Talk to you guys soon.